Welcome to SAT TV's news. I am Shanna Esprit, your presenter. In our top stories, Dominicans urged to prepare for Tropical Storm Chantal, U.S. investigating Guyana visa racket, Egypt unrest, tensions soar amid Cairo killings, and in sports, Dominican athlete wins gold medal. Details of these will follow. Welcome back. A one-week intensive training course on health and family life education is being held at the Public Service Training Center, which began on Monday, July 8, 2013. The United Nations Children's Funds, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, stressed on the importance of teaching health and family life education in primary and secondary schools.
HFLE is a core subject in the National Curriculum Guide. It is somewhat different from the academics, but it is just as important and valuable. It should go hand in hand with the academics.
According to the HFLE Education Officer, Mrs. Rena John Charles, children are faced with many challenges in this changing world, hence the reason for HFLE.
They need classroom education that seeks to empower them with knowledge and skills for healthy living, to cope with these challenges, which is what HFLE seeks to do. Ongoing training of our HFLE teachers will ensure the delivery of quality education in all areas to our children.
Dr. Jeffrey Blaise, Assistant Chief Education Officer, said that inserting HFLE as a core area can be equated with any other core subject.
Many times recognize that schools don't attach that level of importance to the teaching of HFLE. And let me use this medium to call on the schools who have not been doing so. HFLE is an integral part of teaching learning process, an integral part of the education system. It is a core area in the curriculum and we should treat it as such. And I need to inform you that the teachers who are here this morning, you are special. You are very critical, you are very important to the efficiency of the school system, of the education system.
He commended the teachers for providing the necessary social and communicative guidance to the students.
As an HFLE teacher, your job is predominantly proactive. And by that, I mean you are expected to spot the potential limitations in students before they arise. Yes, that is what being proactive is all about. And the activities that you engage in, as Mr. Goldberg said earlier, these are activities to mitigate, to minimize the challenges that our students may encounter with respect to their social, their communicative, their emotional needs.
A variety of topics will be discussed at the workshop related to the 4 themes in HFLE. The program will culminate with a certificate of participation. In more news, on Friday, July 5th, the National Development Foundation of Dominica Limited held its closing ceremony for courses held over the past few weeks. The training courses included protocol etiquette, professional image, hair and makeup application, events management, and effective communication. Training facilitator and human resource and training officer at the NDFD, Carrie Charles Thomas, said the overall project's aim is to create employment among youth in Dominica.
Not only the need to offer financing as well, but also there's a need to offer training in various areas that focus on skill as well as academic type of training. So this afternoon, the NDFD say thank you, and we say welcome to you for partaking in this closing ceremony. What I want you to urge you to do is that to always encourage yourself and encourage your employer to register you for training. I would want to say that because we are the leading provider of training in Dominica, I would urge you to register with the NDFD.
We always designed and implement training that caters to the need of the individual, she added. Ms. Thomas engages the human resource personnel at various institutions as well as private individuals. Executive Director of NDFD, Mr. Cletus Joseph, says the closing ceremony was a testament that NDFD continues to meet its commitment to achieving its mission. Part of that mission is to contribute towards poverty reduction and employment generation, stated Mr. Joseph.
And therefore, one of the important parts of boosting up the human resource of the country is with regards to training of that very same human resource. And we may want to ask, the trainings that we received over the past few months, Mrs. Thomas said it's the first closing, but it's a combination of four, which are protocol and etiquette, professional image, hair and makeup. This one feels a little ladyish, however. And events management and effective communication.
Mr. Joseph believes all the courses completed can bear an impact on either the organization one works for or within an individual capacity. We now go to the distribution of certificates by Mr. Oliver Henderson, Chairman of the Board of Directors.
Georgina Durand, Trida Benjamin, Grillian Lloyd, Roberta Samuel, Gillian Lloyd, Nathan Mason, Nathaniel Mason, I thought she had put them in order.
In other news, a number of buildings were evacuated following a fire in Rosa today, 8th July. The fire occurred at about 9 a.m., leaving a number of persons running from law offices and other buildings near the courthouse, located on the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard. Reports indicated that the fire broke out on an electrical pole near the registry, and smoke was seen coming from a building housing the law offices of Harris and Isidore Associates. However, ESA Limited was also evacuated.
There was just a loud song, and we just saw some flickering in our office. I was in my boss' office, and I just happened to look out the window, and I saw smoke coming from one of the wires, and I just came out of the office and told everybody to evacuate. We should go downstairs. When we came downstairs, I saw there was fire coming from one of the boxes on our office and the electrical stuff.
An eyewitness noted some of the persons who were outside at the time said the fire began on the electrical pole outside, which was sparking, so the fire department was called in. She explained that an employee of Domlec in passing by at the time proved to be advantageous for a fast response in rectifying the problem. The proceedings of the High Court and Magistrate Court were cancelled for the day as the power had to be shut off, affecting many nearby buildings. This incident attracted a number of curious onlookers. However, certain sections of the street was blocked off by the police officers, while the staff of Domlec worked feverishly to repair damaged equipment and restore electricity to the buildings. No one was injured in this incident. In more stories, the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development has announced the appointment of Mrs. Melina Fontaine as Acting Chief Education Officer effective Friday, July 5, 2013. Mrs. Fountain takes the helm from Mr. Stevenson Hyacinth, who served in the position for 12 years and is now the acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Immigration and Labor. Mrs. Fontaine served previously as Coordinator Special Education and a focal point for the Child Friendly School Initiative. She holds a bachelor degree in education from the University of the West Indies and a master's in education from the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, Massachusetts. Mrs. Fontaine is currently a PhD candidate with the University of Massachusetts. In other stories, a number of principals from primary and secondary schools island-wide all gathered at the Public Service Union building on Valley Road on Monday, July 8th, as they were selected to attend a behavioral policy consultation. Acting Chief Education Officer Mrs. Melina Fontaine stated, in the coming year, the Ministry of Education would like to submit a final document to the schools, which the principals will use for their school's behavioral policy. She noted this is mandated by the Education Act to ensure every student succeeds and they learn in a safe, healthy, and positive environment.
Well, we have had a small committee of persons initially led by Dr. Shani Shillingford, who have been drafting that behavior policy. She, together with a few principals and other officers, including guidance officers from the Ministry of Education, they've been working on that policy for a couple of months now. So we are at the point where we have a draft and we know what the principals feedback and input into that draft. In that draft, we will be looking at both proactive measures and reactive measures to deal with behavior management within our schools.
There is not a behavioral problem in our schools. However, there are behavioral challenges that principals have to deal with. So when there are problems, we have to ensure they are dealt with in the best way possible by putting proactive measures in place. The consultation looks at the entire issue, both prevention and the reaction of the students in management, Mrs. Fontaine added.
After a series of consultations, we are hoping that we will get a document that is solid enough that can be approved by the government of Dominica, and that will guide what happens in our school for a period of time. Some teachers, persons who are guidance counselors and pastoral care coordinators, because they have a role to play in that as well. We're expecting to bring in parents and all other agencies like government agencies like the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Social Services to come on board with us, because there's a partnership there, including the police as well, because when it comes to behavior management, sometimes we have to call them in. So we are even students. So we are hoping to engage all the stakeholders within the education system, inside as well as outside, to help us with a solid behavior policy for our schools.
It is hoped by the end of September 2013, the final copy of the policy will be submitted to the Education Minister, Honorable Peter Seja. In other news, Principal of the St. Martin Secondary School, Ms. Andrea Christian, says the school is taking steps to achieve better results in mathematics and literacy.
Of Education for technical support in our quest to raise the standards of literacy and numeracy among our students. I commend my teachers too for their tireless efforts. The challenge of all mathematics performers in the region as a whole is at a starting point for the mathematics department with its new head, Ms. Defoe, seeking strategies to change mathematics results at St. Martin Secondary.
Ms. Christian noted English results showed a 79.4% pass rate at CSEC exams for the school's year.
The number of grade 3s show that there is still much to be accomplished for improved literacy, and so we press on to achieve more.
In other news, Acting National Disaster Coordinator Mr. Don Corriette is advising Dominicans to make all final preparations for the impending storm Chantal.
We're told it is about 100, it will pass about 100 miles south of Dominica, but that's the center. So we're expecting weather beyond the center of the storm. So we're asking Dominicans to take all precautionary measures. In fact, we should be making final preparations for the impact of Chantal. And that would mean if you're required to go to a shelter, we're going to make an announcement with the local government commissioner later this morning. If you're required to go to a shelter, we're going to have these shelters mobilized. If you're living in low-lying areas, along rock falls, landslides, waterways, you have to exercise extreme caution.
He urged Dominicans to continue listening to the advisory coming from the Met Office. Mr. Corrier said the Office of Disaster Management will be working closely with the Met Office today and give updates as the day goes by.
We also want to advise the fisher folk to be cognizant of the fact that the sea swells are going to be above normal. In fact, 4 meters, that's about 13, 14 feet thereabout. And we would advise that you begin making preparations to haul your boats out of the vulnerable areas. So this, in a nutshell, is what we have been in our outreach programs, in our public relations programs that we have been asking Dominicans to do, is to be prepared.
Residents should monitor the progress of the system and take all necessary precautions to protect life and property. With regards to the soil saturation based on the consistent rainfall in recent times, Mr. Corrier advised further.
And against the background that we have had recent events, we have had the Pocassi collapse of the road. We have several, we may call it minor landslides. We had a landslide in the Cocteau Bath Estate area. So yes, the soils are saturated. There's so much more water that they can take, and plus our topography lends itself to mudslides, landslides, and rockfalls. So again, we're asking residents to be very cautious, to take proactive action.
Heads of national security will gather, and based on the information and analysis that is collected from the Met Office, further statements will be made. In more stories, Mrs. Elizabeth Xavier Daly, principal of the Massac Primary School, has commended the Rainbow Foundation for its continued contribution to education in Dominica with the award of 2 more scholarships to the Massac Primary School. The scholarships were presented on Tuesday, July 2nd to grade 3 student Lilana Leslie and Loic Simon, who will be starting secondary school in September 2013. Lilani received $300 and Loic was given $600 for the coverage of books, transportation, and other expenses.
The Rainbow Foundation, to begin with, has been really faithful to Massac Primary. Lillian and Matthew Walters, they have been our main financial contributor at the school. And it was not only this, last year, we were blessed with their donating a financial contribution to 1 student from grade 2 going to grade 3. And this year we saw an increase. They increased it to 2 students. One is to one of the students who was successful in the GSAT exams, and the other is a student moving from grade 2 to grade 3. You may ask why grade 2 to grade 3? And I think Mr. Walters has a preference because when he left the school, this was his grade level. So he has a preference for the grade 2.
Each year, the Rainbow Foundation makes a financial contribution to assist in enhancing the environment of the students who attend the Massac Primary School. The foundation has funded several projects at the school, including paving of the school grounds and covering of the steps to the 2nd level of the school building. The principal mentioned some of the areas which she believes needs major improvements.
At the Massac Primary School, there are always ongoing projects. And you know, at the school level, you always have to be looking forward to asking firms to help you in your financial contributions, or then the school would have to raise funds. So the Rainbow Foundation sometimes really come to our rescue. So they have donated $3,000. And this will go towards building or constructing a new trough for the infant section, because we have one set of pipes, 1 trough, and then it's to be used by over 300 plus students at the school. So we believe that if we have a trough for the little ones, it will be better. So you know children, you've already little pushing and stuff like that. We think that they needed their own space.
This year, the foundation intends to assist with the completion of a water trough, the installation of guttering at the front of the school, and the feeding program at the school.
One of the other projects, as you know, certain areas, we don't want to put too much pavement at the school, but in the yard we have a serious problem when it rains heavily. We have this overflow of the water coming in from the field. So when it is raining heavily, sometimes the children, they can't cross the gate, neither the main gate nor the gate towards the airport side. We can't cross them. The water usually, without exaggeration, is over your ankle high. So we must take care of that drainage problem, and this is a major project that we need to undertake. It's coming up.
When asked for her opinion on the grade 6 students' overall performance, Mrs. Daly had this to say.
As I usually say, every time children do national assessments, we have our own expectations. But sometimes when you get the results, sometimes you may not be happy with what you get. Example, in the national assessment, we got 3 scholarships and 3 bursaries. And one might say, among 43 children, they don't find 3 scholarships, 3 bursaries, or so many. But when you have to consider the number of scholarships to be shared among all the students on the island, I think it's commendable, and our grade 6. Generally, our teachers here are working hard towards children's learning and development.
Mrs. Daly urges all parents to become more involved in their children's education. In more news, beginning September 2013, the Dominica State College will launch an associate degree in public administration. The program will be offered in the evening to make allowance for beginners who have full-time employment and cannot attend regular classes daytime. This new project is testimony that DSC is committed to improving the quality of life to members of the communities it serves. As Dominica continues to strive for a world-class public sector, the knowledge, skills, and attitudes of both those who hold public office and those who serve the public can be enhanced through formal higher education. The DSC, with its internationally educated and trained faculty, is ready to reach and enhance learning. The first 2 courses in the public administration degree will be Introduction to Public Administration, Organization and Management. These 2 courses will be offered from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays. Persons are invited to apply now at Bath Estate or Stock Farm campuses for these 2 courses. In other news, Wellsworth Bethelmy, Director of Trade, said the government of Dominica is continuing to put measures in place to assist small business realize growth. A facility at financial institutions will allow business persons to start up small businesses as a major undertaking.
There are lots of things people are not aware of that the government is putting in place for the development of Dominica. And one of the things we see, I always applaud the Prime Minister for the decision he made when he established the Small Business Development Unit in the government to assist small businesses develop. But not only that, putting monies aside at bank to allow entrepreneurs to take advantage of opening businesses in Dominica.
Mr. Bethelmy regards this initiative as one of the greatest things. He said he sees the private sector as the heart and growth of any economy.
In America, we see small businesses which employ less than 10 persons. They provide almost half of the jobs in the United States right now. More than half of the jobs. Those that employ somewhere from 15 to 20, they came second. Those that employ from 20 and under 100, they came third. So you see, the small business sector in America has been the sector that has been driving the economic force of America, which made it the powerhouse, the power economy in the world.
According to Mr. Bethelmy, if Dominica emulates the strategies of the Americas, we will see the paramount need to develop our small businesses, significantly the manufacturing sector. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.